Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven, today with a scale figure review, my first figure review for February 2023. Right in front of me, this is a 1x7 scale figure of Nero Claudius, Saber Regalia version from Fate Extella. Not Fate Grand Order or Fate Extra, Fate Extella, which is a game as far as I'm aware of, and I don't know anything about Fate Extella. I bought it just because it is a Fate character and I like the character design. The figure is made by a company called Provi, which I have never heard of before, but it isn't a new company. I was curious enough to go to myfigurecollection.net and do some research on what is this company. Is it a new company? And apparently they only have 14 scale figures being made by them so far. 14. Yeah, some of them are not yet released yet. And the type of figures they make, they are very random. They only made one figure from the Fate series, which is this one over here, and then they proceeded to make figures from many other different franchises or anime or games. It is very random somehow. The 14 figures I'm referring to, they are only scale figures, not including action figures or other types of merchandise. They also make other kinds of merchandise. So I was fairly curious. I went to the official website, provi.co.jp. This company existed since year 2001. Yeah, the startup was back in 2001. Their main focus are things like gashapons, candy toys, and those smaller items. So it is kind of interesting that a gashapon maker can shift their attention to scale figures and actually make quite a few of them with a very high quality to boot. Yep, this figure is very well made for a figure company that is not accustomed to making scale figures. But more on that in a moment. I did not even know this version of Nero Claudius even existed until I saw this figure made by Provi actually. So I was kind of attracted to the character design. Why not just pick up one? She can be had for around 16,000 or 17,000 Japanese yen, which isn't bad at all for a 1x7 scale. That is very reasonable. She was released back in June last year, 2022. So by the time I'm reviewing her now, she is out in the market for 6 or 7 months already. Initially, I delayed my purchase of this figure because I did not think this figure will become rare, because for a Nero Claudius figure, this is a very niche version of her. This is not common. As I mentioned earlier, I did not even know this version exists at all. So if there is a popular Umu Saber figure out there, it has to be her Saber form. The normal form you see in FGO and Fate Extra, not this one. So I thought this figure will not become rare at all. However, within the past month or two, I have started to notice that her inventory is starting to go low. HLJ.com sold out, Ami also sold out, and then I realized that it is time to buy her before I regret it. I went to Amazon Japan, there were last 2 units left, and here we are with one on my desk over here. Though it is possible to find her in Chinese website like Taobao, there will be a few sellers with her in stock. So before we talk about the figure itself, a quick mention about her box. I actually uploaded an unboxing video of her, a short video on my channel, you can check her out. But anyways, a quick mention about her box. So for a 16,000-17,000 yen, I wouldn't expect too much about the box, but given that this figure has a number of optional parts, it is quite a surprise to me that the box is so compact and small. Small boxes are always a good thing because you save on shipping cost, but at the same time, they shouldn't be at the expense of risking the figure to damage during shipping. So in a sense, this isn't a very good box because this is a typical cardboard box, not very solid at all, but I got my figure in perfect condition, so I guess I shouldn't complain too much. At the same time, you shouldn't expect a box that is very high-end at this price point, especially from a Japanese company. Now we move on to the actual figure itself. This is where a relatively unknown figure company to me managed to impress me. Firstly is regarding the sculpting. So when I compare the figure to the official artwork, the first thing is about the sculpt, where I always compare the final product to the official product photos we see, because we want to see companies deliver on their promises. I see no problems at all with the sculpt of this figure. Her face is very accurate, that is Nero Claudius for sure. And then we look at the body, the torso, the armor on her shoulders all the way to her hands, her gauntlet. Everything is just very nice and very well put together. The score I would give for the sculpt of this figure, an easy 9 out of 10, even 9.5 out of 10, so it is very good. The paintwork of this figure, Provy managed to impress me even further because seriously, I don't know what to expect at all. It might be good or it could go really bad, I don't know. But seriously, there is not a single flaw to be found on the paintwork of this figure. No matter where I look, the face of the figure, her torso, her body, all the way to her golden armor, her gauntlet, everything. I could not find any scratches, no paint transfer, no bleeding edges, no ugly seam lines, nothing at all. It is even the more impressive when I think about it, now that I know Provy is a gashapon maker, for them to be able to deliver in the quality department for a higher end scale figure, virtually no flaws at all in the paintwork, no matter how hard I look. Not even a dust spot, which I once said is very common nowadays in many scale figures, can't find a dust spot at all. That is seriously great work coming from Provy. Now let's discuss about the assembly process for a bit, which is rather straightforward and you will be able to figure things out yourself even though you don't have an instruction sheet, for example. However, there's one very small issue and that has to do with her head over here. It is on the loose side but not very loose. I mean, as you can see, I can easily remove the head from the figure very easily. So this is not as tight as many other figures like Good Smil's Saber figures, but not really a problem. Because, well, you don't really hold a figure like this by the head and then expect the bottom half of the figure, the torso of the figure, not to fall off, right? You don't hold a figure by the head. So not really an issue. However, this second head over here, it is a bit tighter than this one right here. This is the full armor version. Her face is being covered. I have no idea why would you want to display this figure with her face being covered up, but it is nice to have that option nonetheless. And then I remove it, you get to see this second face plate over here, which is really what I prefer to have. Unfortunately, this face plate cannot be used with this ordinary head over here. Quite a shame really, because I prefer this face expression. And then there is this option where there is armor over her face and it is being opened up so you can see her face partially, which is quite nice. I actually like this as well. So if I were to display this figure of Nero Claudius, I would have a hard time deciding whether to display it this way or with this head over here. This is very nice to have. And lastly, speaking about the base of this figure, I have a bit of a mixed feeling over here. On one hand, it is very nice to have all these flame effects. And these flame effects, they are actually made of soft material, as you can see over here. So there is actually less risk of accidentally breaking them. Not bad. So we have these flames coming out from the cracks in the ground. And this is a very nice base to have. But at the same time, number one, there are no metal foot pegs with this figure. Both foot pegs are plastic, but this is not a heavy figure. I suppose that is fine. And number two, which is a bigger issue to me, is that on the very border of this base over here, along the borders, you can see some white color material. As if, you know, when you take a sheet of card or paper, you tear it, you can see some white color edge over there. Yeah, it feels like that to me. The problem with this is that it makes the base look very cheap. It feels like all this texture on the surface of the base is made of paper or just a sheet of sticker. So, not very nice over here. But this is the only major complaint I can find with this figure, which is actually quite saying something about how well made this figure is. So at the end of this review, I can certainly recommend this figure of Nero Claudius Saber Regalia version to anyone who are into buying Fate figures. If you would like her, I would advise you to buy her as soon as possible before she sells out everywhere. This is certainly a rather niche character, even though we are talking about Umu Saber over here, this version at least, so I can't imagine Provy making a huge number of this figure out there. So if you are interested, grab one now before it is too late. We are already 7 months in after her release. That is all for today's figure review. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I would really appreciate a like and a subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much, and I will see you guys again very soon. Goodbye.